What's up? Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, everyone. How we doing? Welcome in. Thank you for being here. Hey. How's everybody doing today? Everybody feeling good? It is Saturday, people. It is September the 6th. It is now 11:07 in the morning. Let's get out here today. Let's get started. Saturdays are beautiful. Every day is beautiful, but this particular Saturday is looking wonderful out. Thank you guys for being here this morning, for checking in and being a part. Let's get that out of there. All right. Whew. So guys, let me know how the weekend's going for you today. Let me know how you're feeling today, what's on your mind. Today we are going to talk, we're going to have a brief discussion about the difference between being still and being stuck. As always, as you check in, let me know where you're checking in from, what time of day it is where you are. Also, let me know what you're doing today. What's the plan? It is 11:08 in the morning. I'm coming to you live. This is not a recording. Yeah, I'm live. I'm also excited to say we are about 100 subscribers away from our goal of 2,500 subscribers, and about 1,000 watch hours away from our goal of 3,000 watch hours to get us to being monetized. Again, thank you for being here. Thank all of you guys for your support that you've shown. Thank you for all the ways you've cared. Bruce, welcome, bruh. How you doing, Bruce? Rick. I'm not gonna say that, Nick. 3020. I don't even know what that means. I need some context to say that. It's bad enough. My daughters had me quoting the father from Bluey, Shooby-Doo-Wah. Welcome in, guys. Again, beautiful morning. Beautiful morning. We're getting close to the afternoon here. Love the weather. Wesley Walpole, welcome in, Wesley. How are you doing? Thanks for being here. Guys, thank you so much for stopping in this Saturday. Like I said before, we want to talk about the difference between being still and being stuck. If you haven't had an opportunity yet, please go ahead and take a look at the survey, answer the question. Because if you are not working on anything, the way the question is phrased, if you're not working on anything, it's kind of a default stuck. It's kind of a, hey, this is where I am, this is where I'm gonna be, right? So my daughter asked me, it's funny, we were watching a movie yesterday, and it's a movie about, it's the silly movie with Batista in it. And he's supposed to be a hitman. And he says, I want to be retired. I want you to retire me. And my daughter says, hey, Daddy, what does it mean to be retired? I said, well, in this context, you know, it means that they want to end someone's life. She says, when are you going to retire? I was like, what do you mean? She says, no, like regular retire. I mean, so no, at first she asked, no, like, what does it really mean? I says, oh, it means like when you stop working. And she says, well, when are you going to retire? And I'm like, never. She was like, never? I'm like, no, never. Like, the work that I do is my life, and I'm never going to retire from that. That's just the way I live. Bruce said, I'm solid, yes, sir, and progress includes these things. And you, sir, I'm doing great, Bruce. Thank you very much. Is that Maharzan? Meherazan? I don't know. Hello. How are you doing, Meherazan? Where am I from? I am from, well, I was born in Washington, D.C., but I'm coming to you today live. I'm in Maryland. We are on the East Coast of the United States. So if you're from outside of the United States, that's where you will be looking for me at. East Coast, United States. Walk and talk, enjoying the sunshine as fall starts to descend upon us and the temperature starts to kind of go down. So thank you again, guys, for being here this morning. But yeah, so we want to talk about, like I said, the difference between being stuck and being still. The little story about retirement is because it's important to know that when you're going through this journey, when you're having like these discussions and you're with yourself and with others, the thing that's important to realize is when your life becomes your focus, becomes your job, when living becomes the thing that you're working on and the thing that you're growing, you never retire. Like, you're always doing that. You're always experiencing that. And what happens for so many of us is our life gets lost in working. And we stop living and we start just being alive. There is a understanding that I personally have that we have to start to, when we can appreciate living, right? When we can actually start to appreciate living life. Like someone said, stop and smell the roses, right? Like, you gotta stop and smell the roses. Well, that should just be a part of your life. You know, that's a part of living, smelling the roses, taking a deep breath, going for a run, or third floor, rear patio, west facing, catching some sun rays, 28-mile view. Like, that's another, like, that is living. That's experiencing that life in the moment. So one of the things that I think is very important for us to start to do is to know the difference from just being alive and actually living. When we start to make this identification, this realization, and this acceptance that we're alive, but we're not all living, then we can make some changes. We can change our conversations, we can change our thought process, we can change our outcomes, and then we can live in a space where living is what we do. And then all of those things around living, like going to work or whatever the case may be, they're in there, they're part of it, but living is what we're doing. What's going on? What's going on? Mulatto Master. What's happening, boss? Thank you for stopping in. Thank you for speaking. How you doing? Good to hear from you. And so that's what we're talking about now, is how do we go from being, how do we know the difference between being still and being stuck? And how do we move from one space to the other? Well, that's something we want to talk about today. That's something that I want to be able to share with you and kind of break down as we have this talk today. So again, thank you guys for being here. Thank you for taking the time to stop in, join me on this walk and talk, and let's have a good time this morning. Let's have a good time. Big Ryan, everyone. So the talk is about the difference between being still and being stuck. And for a lot of my life, I thought I was being still, like I thought I was applying patience, but I found out what I was really doing was just waiting. And so it's very easy as individuals, as people, as humans, to believe that we're doing something in one space, but we're not. It's very easy to believe that, hey, I'm practicing patience, but really I'm stuck, right? I'm taking my time, I'm figuring things out. No, just stuck. Why is that important? Well, as I've said before, and I believe I've shared it on the channel before also, when you're stuck, right? When you're sitting still, we have a tendency to believe that not moving is a good thing, right? Like I said, like if you're sitting in traffic and your foot's on the brake because the traffic's not moving, there are so many things that could still impact you. Somebody could come from the left, someone could come from the right, someone can come from the rear. So there are so many ways that you could be impacted by the environment that don't really have anything to do with you. But they're there, right? These things outside of you. And because you're stuck in traffic, you can't do anything about it, right? You can't maneuver. You can't change it. It's frustrating. It becomes kind of overwhelming, and it can really build up like this resentment and this anger, right? How is being still different? Because when you're being still, you maintain the ability to be active, right? You maintain the ability. So it's like being in that exact same situation in the highway, but if the traffic's moving, even if it's moving slowly, you're still making progress. You're not sitting still, because the best way to move forward, the best way to stay out of danger, the best way to avoid pitfalls and traps is to be in motion, because you can move in and out of the way of things. You can avoid dangers. You can avoid pitfalls. You can avoid oncoming or impending damage, right? And that happens because we're being still, not being stuck. And those things are different. And it really translates when we're talking about growth and development of ourselves. When we're talking about how we want to live our lives, the way we want to focus on our growth, when we talk about just a myriad of things that are important to us and our survival in our life, when we start to talk about these things, we need to know the difference between being still and being stuck. Because when we're being still, we still possess power. We still possess capability. We still possess energy. But when we're being stuck, we lose all of those things. And that's going to be a very important part of the conversation I want to share with you guys today, is being able to see the difference between those. So, where are we at in this process, right? What are we really working on in doing this? Estudio, oi. Is that from Brazil, Estudio? Thanks for dropping in. Hey guys, as always, remember when you check in, do me a favor, let me know where you're checking in from, what time of day it is, where you are. And please join in the conversation. I'm live. I am not recorded. This is not a video that was recorded at some other time and being posted. Currently here on the East Coast of the United States, it is 11:20 a.m. I am up in Maryland, and I really want to make sure we're covering the difference between being still and being stuck. I was stuck, as I was saying before, I was stuck for a large portion of my life. Stuck because I just I had no idea of what to do next, right? Like, not even knowing what action to take. Like, it didn't even matter Whether or not I had a plan or a destination, I really couldn't, because I didn't have an understanding of what to do in my youth. Even as I got older and I started to work, the action plan that I was given was flawed, because the action plan was not about me living my life. It was about me working for someone else to live their life. When we start to understand, Magi, make sure I'm saying that right, Magi. Hello, how are you doing, brother? And so when I stop and I start to learn and I start to figure out, hey, if my life is important to me, I'm gonna have to invest some time into my life. I'm gonna have to take a look at the behaviors and the actions that I'm taking for my life versus just the actions for others. Thank you very much. So when I start talking, when I start looking at how I'm living, you know, I start to get older, get married, have children. Even early on in my marriage, like there was a disconnect, there was a misunderstanding, there was a lack of knowledge, there was a lack of purpose to what I was doing, and so I was just active. I was very busy, but I wasn't moving forward. I was still stuck, and I had convinced myself that working the same jobs harder with more focus, because I felt like, oh man, I'm intelligent, like I'm smart, like I know it, like I understand that in order for me to move up, I have to do work, I have to develop these skills, I have to learn what the company needs, and I have to put myself in a position to provide those things. And so for years, I went from company to company to company at the same level, right? Like different companies, different names, but at the same level. And I kept hitting the ceiling at the same level. I kept hitting the ceiling in my life at the same level. And it took me a while before I realized that the problem that I was having is that I was working on things and for people, but not on myself. Stuck. Wasn't being still, I was stuck. I wasn't working on me. I worked to understand better how to provide services for clients, right? I worked to better understand how to meet marks for companies. I worked to, and I studied to understand the services that I needed to provide, the way I needed to provide them, and how to work hard and be good for someone else. But the reason I couldn't move past a certain point in the company is because I hadn't worked on myself. I hadn't done the work on me to say, hey, this is my motion, this is my growth. This is not only what I bring to your company, but this is what I'm bringing to my life. This is an understanding of who I am and where I'm going. And for so many people, it's very difficult to do. And one of the things that makes it so difficult for so many people is that for so many, they just don't understand that being good at your job can move you to a certain place. But being good at being you moves you higher. Does that make sense? Like, is anybody understanding kind of what I'm saying about that? Like, being good at your job can get you moved to a certain position in your job. But being good at being you moves you much higher in that company, because a lot of people can learn how to do what you do at your job. A lot of people, like, this is why so many people graduate from colleges with these degrees and this knowledge and this capability, but they can't break through when they get into the workforce. They can't break through or sustain the same success when they start working. And the reason they can't is because they've worked so hard on acquiring the knowledge. Now that they have it, people start saying, hey, well, what about you? Right? Like, how many people have we heard of that come out of school and they was like, man, I got this degree, I can't get a job. Like there's no, like, I want to start, like they told me that this job field would pay $180,000 a year. Why are they only offering me $80,000, right? $70,000. Why am I not being offered $180,000 a year? Well, what have you done for you? How have you worked on you? Why do you think employers even ask that question, right? So there's these studies, like there's all of these things you can see when you go online and you try to get a job, and they give you this interview practice, right? And they're like, hey, here are the questions, here are the types of questions the company are asking, and here's what they're looking for, here are these keywords, blah, 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 right? Here's what it is. Companies want to know if you matter enough to yourself to have done anything to work on yourself, right? Hobbies are not because they want to see what your hobbies are. Hobbies are simply to see, hey, what are your hobbies? And do your hobbies require for you to work on you in order to achieve them, in order to participate in them, right? If your hobby is, oh, my hobby is watching football, it's not a hobby. That's just a use of time, right? My hobby, like one of my hobbies is like, I don't know, like I don't really have any hobbies, but some of the things I like to do, right? And then we start giving them these answers of just saying, oh, I just waste a lot of my time. I don't spend any time on myself. I don't develop any skills outside of the ones that I need in order to do this job. I don't work on me. That's why that question is there. Because companies are trying to find out, are you being still and developing yourself and growing your skill so that you can have an impact in the world and in your own life? Because if you're impactful in your life, if you're growing in your life, if you're making moves and being successful and taking on challenges and growing in your life, then you can do that in the company too. You can provide that for the company as well. But if you're stuck, if you moved into mom's basement at 16 for more privacy and you're still there at 26, 36, 46, you're stuck. You're not still. You're stuck. When we start talking about and thinking about growth, progress, and moving forward, we have to know the difference between being still and being stuck. And so many of us are just sitting around and talking about things and having conversations. I had to make moves. I had to change what I was doing. I told this story once before, and I was working for a fitness company. And I came in and I was doing the training, I was doing group training, I was a fitness manager, I was training trainers, I was training individual clients. I'm doing all of this work. And then clients would come up to me and some of them were like, hey, I'm interested in being a personal trainer. What do I do? How do I do it? And I'm like, okay, so as a young personal trainer, you have to understand you only make money while you're working in order for you to be able to grow. Or the real money is in doing other things, and so you have to be able to market, you have to be able to pitch products. So a lot of trainers, so it's really, you have to be very careful when you're working with a trainer as a client to not just be, if they're recommending you things, make sure the things they're recommending are actually good for you, not just because they're getting a buck for it. Make sure that they understand how it works, like all of those things. And then when you become a trainer, you have to make sure any products that you're promoting or pitching to people is actually about these people reaching their goals and achieving like that's important, right? Because it can be really shady and really easy to get in and just start talking about doing stuff but not doing it. And so I'm sharing this information, I'm talking to people, I'm expressing to them, here are the things that you're looking to do to make sure that you are meeting the goal and meeting the standard that you want to set for yourself. So we have all of these conversations, we talk about all of these things. And then one evening, somebody was just like, there was this lady who was there, and she's just like, why aren't you doing that? Like right in my face. Like, I get it. Like, you don't do any of those things. You don't promote. You don't promote or sell products. You don't promote or sell apparel. You don't promote or sell fitness supplies. Like, but these are all questions that we have for you. We all come to you and we ask you for this advice. And because that's how you're supposed to be making money, why aren't you doing it? Why aren't you doing that? And I was like, why am I not doing it? And so I had to change. I had to grow. That was one of the lessons that started to show me that I'm working hard for this company. I'm training the trainers. I'm training the clients. I'm training the groups. I'm growing and I'm selling packages. I'm making money for this company, but I'm not making money for me. I haven't sold me on growing me. I haven't come to understand that for me, being the best version of me requires for me to put in more time on me, for me to put in more effort on me, for me to invest more in me. And until I learned to invest in me, until I learned that what was important was for me to become a better version of me, I wasn't able to see the rewards. I wasn't able to see the benefits. I wasn't able to see the growth. So what was the first step? First step was to just start learning. I took this step and I was like, hey, I'm not going to do this anymore. I went out and I says, hey, I'm going to get some products to sell. I'm going to get something that I can provide to the people. First thing that I provided is I created a fitness challenge. I said, we have an intent to burn a million calories this month, all the clients, to make sure we're tracking it correctly. I got a specific brand of watch. I reached out. I literally called customer service and told them I needed to speak with someone about being able to wholesale a product. And then I got in touch with a gentleman who his responsibility was to get products inside of fitness shops and fitness places. And when I got a hold to him, he gave me what his pricing was and what I could get it for from him and what my profit would be. And I was like, perfect. I went in, I signed people up, gathered up the sales, got everybody together, and in that following week made like $4,500 just on the introduction of that program and getting started and taking action. But see, I had to work on me. I had to stop trying to work on somebody else's product. I had to stop trying to build somebody else's business. I had to stop making my focus being the best employee I could be for them. And I had to start focusing on how do I be the best version of myself that I need to be for me, right? And so when I started figuring out, okay, I become a better version of me, I help people become better versions of themselves, this company's gonna grow. And so from that, 2 clients were like, man, I like it. Love how you're doing it. How to become a trainer. I didn't get any money from this, but I told them, go into this program. This is where you do your training. If I was signed up with the company that did the training, I would have got money back from getting them signed up, but I wasn't. I didn't get it all at once, but I started to put it together, and it's like, hey, you're providing these things, you're building these people, you're building these resources. And I needed to make sure in building those things for others, thank you very much, that I was building for myself as well, that I was growing myself, right? And so how do we do that? How do we do that as individuals? How do we go from being stuck to being still? First, we have to realize it. Oh, come on, man. Come on. Don't, not even gonna mention your name. Majai, yes, thank you very much, Majai. What is it? Freddie says, Jesus love, indeed. Is that Jesus? Oh, Jesus from Turkey. All right. Is that your name, Jesus? Or are you saying Jesus is a big thing in Turkey? You got to help me out with that one, Freddie. But thank you for being here. Thank you all for being here. And so now, after spending time going through that process, it eventually started to work on me. And dude, it took years. It took years. So what's the difference between being still and being stuck? The major difference between being still and being stuck is being still maintains the ability to be productive. Being stuck is fear. It's powerless. It's misunderstanding. It's loss, like being stuck. And a lot of times you can get stuck and then not know that the best way to get unstuck is to start working on you by forcing yourself to take on challenges. And then you go from being stuck to being still because you're moving your life, right? You're growing yourself. But being stuck, and here's the big thing, right? And don't think that stuck means people aren't doing well, because you can get stuck. As I said before, there are people who go to college, get degrees, go to companies and get stuck. They take that $80,000 position and they do what they do well. And then every year the company is like, oh, we're gonna give you a raise, or they're like, hey, well, you're paying this much. And so what they do is they jump from company to company and they think they're moving up. They're not. They're just moving to another company that pays more for the thing that they're already doing. So you get $80,000 at this company. Well, that company only has like 120 clients. So you find out that another company is hiring for the same role, slightly different name, but they pay $90,000 or $93,000. So you ask your current company, can I get a raise? And they were like, we're not at the point for raises. And then you apply and you say, hey, I have 2 years experience here. And they're like, great, we'll bring you in for $93,000. And you think you're moving up. No, you've just increased how much you make for the thing that you do. And people believe that being still correlates to income. It doesn't. It correlates to growth. And so when everybody starts thinking that, hey, I'm not stuck, I'm making more money, it's the exact way that you get stuck. That's the trick that sticks you, is you think because you're making more money that you're not stuck. You believe that you're growing because your compensation is growing. No, you just went to a company that happens to have 250 clients instead of 120. So they have the ability to pay more. Trust me, there's another company that has 500 clients. And 2 years from now, when you say you have 4 years experience, they're gonna bring you into the exact same job role for about $5,000 to $7,000 more. And you're still doing the same job, you just have more experience doing it. You just have more time you've been doing it. And so you say, I'm not stuck. If you're not working on yourself, because here's what happens, and I'm gonna tell you what the exponential growth, I'm gonna tell you how the difference between that and exponential growth. You come out of, I tell you who gets paid more coming out of college than the person who says, I did really well and I got a degree in this field and I'm pretty good at it. You wanna know who makes more than you with that exact same degree? The guy who says, well, yeah, I did this, but I took a year off. I took a year off because I traveled to Europe, or I spent a year on the road. I went to different places. I met people in different communities. I started to understand, here are some of the things I learned. I developed me. I spent a year putting myself in situations that I'd never been in. I spent a year learning about the rest of the world and how the rest of the world thinks, how everybody else is living, what's important to them, why it's important to them, so I can have a better understanding of why the things that are important to me are important to me. So now you're starting at 80,000 and this guy's starting at 87, starting at 90, because he's working on him. And then this guy, 2 years later, when you're looking at him, man, how did Patrick, how did he get moved up? I went to Harvard. He went to South, Northwest New Hampshire. How did he get the next role? Because not only did he work on himself then, but he's working on himself now. Because he understands that what he has to do in order to become the person he wants to be is he has to care enough about him to work on him. And all you talk about and all you care about is how much you get paid. Who else is offering more? You didn't put in, you got this job a month ago and you didn't drop 5 other applications in a month. And these companies, you don't think these companies call and be like, hey, tell me something about Mike? You think they wait for you to get interviewed before they call and check on you? And they're like, yeah, Mike's been here like 3 weeks. What can you tell me about him? He's been here 3 weeks and he's applied to your company. Yeah, he applied here 2 weeks ago. So he was here a week and he's looking for another job. How much do I need to tell you about him? That's the difference between being still and being stuck, because being still lets you know that there's growth that I can do. There are things that I can do. Freddie Tafur, Turkey, valuable vocal artist. Okay. Thank you, Freddie. So, why are we in these positions? How do we arrive at these positions? What are the things that we're doing that's getting us in these positions? Let's take our time and think about it. What are we doing that's getting us in these positions? How are we getting here? It's us. And it's not just us. It's the years of work that went into. Exactly, Magi. It's the years of work that went into teaching us to be laborers. I know you've heard the stories, like if you've been around long enough, I've lived it, I've seen it, where people work and they're together for years. And then one of them dies, and then like a couple of months or a couple of weeks later, the other one dies. Because they're like, hey, this is like, my life was living and being with this person. And now this person is gone. Well, you know, you got kids, you have so many other things that, yeah, but that was my purpose. That was my focus. That was my life. And then they go. And then we're taught, right? When we're taught that what we do for the company, the way we treat the company, the way it's important to show up on time. And I even say it here, don't get me wrong. I'm not telling everybody to disrespect your company. I'm not telling you that your company doesn't matter. I'm not telling you that the work that you do isn't important. I'm not telling you that your company is bad and it's taking advantage of you. I'm not telling you any of those things. What I am saying is if you want to move up in your company, stop just working for your company. Start working on you. Why do you think they say networking is important? Networking isn't important so that you can connect with somebody to get you moved up. Networking is important because as people see you in a network, it doesn't matter what type of work you do. You don't have to fill things out on your resume. They start to see he's well-rounded. There's this person who told this story, and I can't even remember the people who were involved. I believe it was like Jackie Onassis or somebody, or maybe it was some queen or something in England. But at any rate, she went out on 2 dates with these 2 different guys. And she said, what was it like being on the date with the one person? And she's like, when I was on a date with him, I felt like I was with the most important person in the building, the most important person in the room. When I was on the date with him, he made me feel like I was with the most important person in the room. And they said, what happened when you went out on a date with the other person? And she says, when I was on the date with him, he made me feel like I was the most important person in the room. Are you catching me? So when you work on yourself, when your focus is on developing yourself, when the focus is on working on you, growing you, becoming a better version of you, a more decisive, connected, engaging, understanding, well-rounded version of you, right? Because you are important to you. So the things that you do are important to you. When you're working on you, people see that. And you don't have to walk into the room and be the most important person in the room. You don't have to be the loudest person in the room. You don't have to be the center of attention. And without being in the center of the room, boom, the energy, the life, who you are, that's how networking works. That's how networking builds. That's how networking is supposed to work for you. But you can't do that if all you do is worry about how you show up to other people. Because when you work on how you show up to other people, you're not working on how you show up to you. Because everything you do is to impress someone else. It's to impact or engage with some outside source. It's to be defined by or congratulated for being what someone else thinks you can be, or what you should be. But when you focus on working on yourself, when you become important to you, when the work that you do and the actions that you take and the way you behave and engage and the way you speak and live speaks volumes about who you actually are. It changes the perception. And then you don't have to go around constantly pounding your chest about how well you did something. You don't have to go around constantly repeating your value to people, constantly talking about all that you've done and you've achieved. You don't have to, because that's not what you're living for. That's not where your value is. That is how you break through. That's how you go from being stuck to being still. You know, they do these stories in the movie about the guy who was in high school and he threw 4 touchdowns in the state championship game. And now here he is, 30 years later, still in the same community, still wearing his Letterman jacket, still telling the same story at the bar. Maybe he moved somewhere else. Maybe he's in another town. Maybe he's married. Maybe he's got a little car dealership, but he's still stuck because he's doing things. And being stuck is not about money. Being stuck is about you. It's about your development. It's about where you are and how you feel about where you are. We need to come to the realization the difference from being stuck and being still. I'm gonna always recommend, hey guys, it's okay to be still. Because we can grow in stillness. We find peace in stillness. We can engage and be happy and joyful in stillness. You can't when you're stuck. Both of them can look the same, but they don't feel the same, and they'll never have the same outcome. We have to change our mind, we have to change our behaviors, and we have to change our beliefs in what it is. Start by believing in ourselves. Majai said, damn, you're like Carl Jung, my guy. Thank you very much, Carl Jung. Carl Jung. He said Carl Jung. Thank you. Listen, man. In order for me to take steps in my life and do it, I'm telling you, it didn't happen overnight. I'm not expecting anybody to wake up tomorrow and be like, yo, I figured it out. Like, when you read it in a book and you watch it in a movie, like, it's like, oh man, that's done. Dude, I was a personal trainer many, many years ago, and I still didn't get it. Even when I got it, I still didn't get it. I had to really start stepping out. I had to really start taking in more information. I had to really start challenging myself. I had to really start looking at myself and demanding of me to do more for me. Like, I literally had to stop taking work home with me, right? Dude, I used to feel like, yo, I'm perfect. I don't take work home with me. Stuff that happens at the job, I leave at the job. I don't take any of the resentment, the difficulties. I don't take any of that stuff home. I don't talk about it. I go home and I'm with my family, right? But I did take it home with me. And the way I took it home with me is I took it home in my silence. I took it home because when I got home and I know I didn't like what I just experienced this day at work, I got home and I was silent. I got home and I wasn't engaged. I got home and I wasn't useful. I got home and I didn't develop. Because I'm like, I'm not taking my job home with me. But what did I take home? I didn't take me home either. I was stuck. I was moving from company to company, working similar positions in different fields. I had to get unstuck. I had to unstick my mind. I had to unstick my spirit. I had to unstick my thoughts. I had to unstick my behaviors. And I had to start making changes. Yep, I was a fitness trainer, physical fitness trainer. Not like a PE teacher, but like a personal trainer. So I worked with clients for years, weight loss, development programs. And the interesting thing about it is, in doing that, I would do well everywhere I went. Everywhere I went. I could sell a program, I could train a client, didn't matter if you were 8 to 80. I could bring on clients, I could discover their true goals, what they're truly working on, and develop a program and help them reach those goals. Did it for years. Sold programs. Went to people who were like, hey, so one gym I used to work in, I don't like sharing the names of the companies, but one of the gyms I used to work in, they had an entire sales team for fitness. The sales team got paid differently. So the sales team had a quota that they needed to hit. If the sales team hit their quota, they got their money. Anything over the quota, they got an additional percentage. But in order for them to achieve that, they needed to have clients come in and they were supposed to take them through like these fitness workouts, these sessions. So I'm there as a trainer. I started doing group training in a facility that had no group training. They didn't have group training. They didn't have a space for group training. The only thing they had in relationship to group training was aerobics and Zumba. So that was it. That was the only thing that they had in regards to group training. And so when I came on and I started working with the company, I started telling my clients, hey, I can work with you, I can work with you, and I can work with you because you guys have similar goals. We have similar ways to reach it. I can develop the training program, we can make modifications, we can all work out at the same time. And so I would get paid in 1 hour what it would take some personal trainers 3 hours to get paid for. And so once I started to make these training sessions in this way, the sales team started to bring over people and say, hey, I need you to have them included in your group session. Because it was fun, it was engaging, people had a good time. And I was like, okay, let's do it. And so the sales team would put 4 or 5 people in each one of my group training sessions and then take them back up front and close them on the sale to go to their paycheck. Not a big problem for me, but I didn't understand at that time that that's how that worked. I didn't know how much money they were getting for doing that. And then I found out how much money they were getting paid for doing that. And so I went to management and I'm like, can I close these contracts? Can I just finish the session and close the contract? Because what began to happen is the company didn't let you pick a trainer. The company would sign you up because you had to agree to a certain length of training. The company would sign you up, and then once you're signed up, they were like, hey, here are the trainers who are available. And then you have to try to find time with your trainer. And trainers only make themselves available for certain hours. And so at that time, I had a limited number of hours that I worked, and my books were pretty full. When people said, hey, I want to get the one-on-one training sessions with this guy, I want to work with this guy, and they were like, oh, no, he's not available then, but I can get you with this other trainer, people started to come back and be like, well, no, I want my money back. Like, that's the guy I worked out with. That's the guy I had a good time with. That's the guy who I want to be my trainer. And it wasn't available to him. So, why am I sharing this story? I'm sharing this story because this is an experience that I had where I knew how to work to be good for other people's companies, and to be good to build other people, and to be good at selling products and services, but I didn't know how to work on me. I wasn't working on me to a point where I understood, and this is when I was young, that I understood I could make more money by going to that gym and saying, hey, flat rate, y'all pay me this, I'm gonna bring in these services. I'm gonna bring in these clients. This is where you're gonna make your money, this is where I'm gonna make mine. Cut me my piece of cake. Versus getting a pinch of what they paid per training session to the company. And it wasn't bad money. I mean, it was pretty good money for an hour of work, especially when I was doing 3 to 5 clients in an hour, but I still wasn't working on me. And that is the thing that we have to do, is understand that working on us actually requires not looking at the work that we're doing, but looking at ourselves, looking at where we want to be, looking at who we want to be, how we want to be, and then spend time becoming that, enjoying that, experiencing that. Because if we're not living for ourselves, we're just living for others. Matt Jai said, man, brother, I wanted to do that, but I have so much fear of failure, and I don't know how to go about. Forget this, man. I'm gonna take a chance on myself, brother. God bless you. Do it, Matt Jai. Listen, do that. Don't hesitate, man. Don't have any fear about taking action for you, taking action on you, right? Like, because here's the thing right now. You wanna be a personal trainer. The only reason you're not a personal trainer right now is that you haven't tried. Now, in the future, there may be other reasons, but there's only one reason you're not a personal trainer right now. And the one reason you're not a personal trainer right now is because you haven't tried to be a personal trainer. You may try and find out, oh, well, I need to work on this. Cool. Oh, I need to do this better. Cool. Now there's multiple reasons why you're not a personal trainer, but you can work on all of them. But right now, right this moment, the only thing keeping you from being something that you said you want to be is fear, right? It's fear of failure. Well, guess what? You've succeeded at failing by not trying. This is where we have to understand, for many things, we don't know what we need to know until we start doing it. We don't know where we're gonna go until we take a step. I'm old, man. I come from an era when personal trainers, the only people who had personal trainers were people who did bodybuilding. Like professional athletes, from how old I am, many professional athletes didn't have personal trainers. They just did push-ups and worked out. They did push-ups and they did the workouts they needed to do for their specific sports. For many people, that's what it was. They didn't have personal trainers. What I need a personal trainer for? Because there was so much we didn't know. The personal trainer in the gym was the guy you wanted to look most like, or the guy you wanted to spend the most time looking at. Then you ask him, can I work out with you? And I've explained this before, and this is why I had to work on me. I didn't know then that I could charge people for working out because, hey, I'm working out, it's what I do. I'm gonna be here. So I show up, you show up, we work out together. Sure, man, I'll add you in. I can help you build your triceps and your biceps, right? And the thing is, what started to happen is, hey, my workout starts at 7 o'clock in the morning. My workout starts at 6 o'clock in the morning. All right, man, I'm gonna see you. I show up at 5:45, 5:30. They show up at 6:15, 6:20. I'm like, dude, there's a whole warm up we gotta do. There's, oh man, don't worry about it. I'm gonna just jump in where you at. You can't just jump in where I'm at. There's a process to this. My time wasn't valued. I'm waiting on people. You didn't value my time. I started charging money. It was someone who came to me and spoke to me, and they was like, hey man, you know you could be charging money for that. Like, the people don't value what you're giving them because you're giving it to them for free. It doesn't have any value. And I had to think about it, and I had to start to work on it. And I had to come to the realization that, yeah, I need to work on me. So what was the work that I had to do on me in order to get to that point? Well, the work I had to do on me at that time was work in realizing where I was. Work in realizing that there was value in the things, there was value in just me. I didn't understand the value of me. I thought the only value there was in me was the work that I did for others, not the work that I could do for myself. I didn't understand that the things that I do, that other people want to do, I can get paid for helping people do things I'm already doing. That is a, so, Majai, what's something that you do on a regular basis that you enjoy doing, right? I'm soaking it up. I'm soaking up the game, brother. Keep soaking it up, man. So think of something that you do on a regular basis, this just something that you enjoy doing. Anything, it doesn't matter. Throw something in there that you just enjoy doing. And I guarantee you, you enjoy working out. There are people who, whether you get a fitness training degree or not, and there are a lot of places to go where you can get yourself a fitness training degree, people will pay you to work out with you. People will pay you for you to just tell them what you do. Okay, at the fitness factory. That's what I'm talking about. How many people at the fitness factory have come up to you and said, yo, can I work out with you? Yo, what time you normally work out? Can I run with you? How many people have done that? Why do you think the gyms tell you specifically we do not allow private training in our gym? They don't allow it because if you in there and you smoking and people are like, yo, I need to look like Majai. I need to do what Majai's doing. I want to learn how to do that. And then you're like, okay, bet, I can get this to you. I can help you with it. I can share it with you. And then you start to share that experience. You start to share that growth. You're cutting into their bottom line because they got some trainers sitting over there with a gallon of creatine, just talking to somebody on his phone, talking about go again. And you're working out and people want to work out with you. They want to do what you're doing. They see it, it's exciting, it's beneficial, and they want to be a part of it. That's why the gyms tell them, hey, we don't allow private training, because if you allow private training, all of a sudden you're tapping into their pockets. This is what I mean when I say you have to understand the value of you. Dude, like right now, with this conversation, you've gone from stuck to being still, because now you know what you have has value. Now all you have to do is put the work in. Start taking the steps. Hey, how much does it cost for me to get a personal training certificate? You can get it from a lot of different places, right? It doesn't matter where you get the certification from, because what really matters is how much you actually know. Now, there are some places that say, hey, if you get this particular certificate, you can work with this group of people, but people don't care about your certification. They don't. They care about you. They care about how well you train. They care about how focused you are on helping them reach their goals. They care about how well you do it. They care about how you make them feel. That's what people care about. That's working on you. That's working on you understanding the movements, the capabilities, the function. And then you go out there and you're like, yo, this is the time I'm in the gym. If you have a home gym, I can come to your home and I can help you work out. It's going to cost you more, however. Those private training sessions will cost you more. The benefit of the private training sessions is we get the opportunity to work specifically on what you're doing. We get to do it in a space in which you're comfortable, and we get to set this up for a time that's going to fit your schedule where you don't have to travel. And so I can do that for you. I can be that personal trainer. Get your certifications. You make sure you understand what you're doing. Start running your business. Start doing your thing. There's some insurances and stuff you have to get. But listen, first thing you want to do is just know how to do it. You start making people feel good. I'm telling you from a personal trainer, 95% of the people who I worked with were not looking for something, they were not looking to achieve a goal. They were looking to feel better. And my objective, my job as a personal trainer was to make them feel good while helping them reach the goal that they really don't want to reach. Oh, I want to lose some weight. How much weight? Like, what are you trying to do? They got a pair of jeans in the closet they used to fit, they don't fit anymore. They looked at themselves in the mirror one morning and they were like, man, what happened? So these are the types of things where you work on you. You work on Majai. Because you enjoy working out, you need to know the benefit of different movements. You need to know what functional movements are and can they be weighted. You need to know what modifications are for different exercises so that you can apply different degrees of movement and challenges to yourself. Those are the things that you need to do just because Majai likes to work out. You do that, but guess what? In that process of you working on you, you become more valuable to so many other people. You develop an understanding. Get the knowledge on the difference between functional training, powerlifting, and lifting weights and working out. Get the understanding. They're all different categories. What's Olympic lifting? It's weightlifting. That's actually what weightlifting is. Everything you see people doing in the gym for reps, that's not weightlifting, that's working out. I got that wrong for years. So guys, where are we at? How do we go from being stuck to being still? First, we have to identify what stuck is. Stuck is frustration. Stuck is when you don't have answers. Stuck is when you don't feel good about it. Stuck is when where you are doesn't correlate with how you feel and you don't know how to change it. That's stuck. Still is when where you are is a stepping stone to where you're going to be and you know it. Still is work in progress. Still is peace. Still is comforting. Still is knowledgeable. We need to go from being stuck to being still. And as I always tell you, how do we do it? We do it with discipline. We start with repetition. We go from repetition to patience. We have to couple the two of them because what we're doing, well, I'm not going to be a personal trainer tomorrow. I'm not going to be making $100,000 a year tomorrow. I'm not going to be selling every project, to everybody I see tomorrow, but I will. But I need to learn. I need to work on me. I need to work on the version of me who I need to be to see that thing. What do I need to know more about in sales? What do I need to know more about in fitness? Wow, when I found this out about sales, it opened my mind to this is how fitness companies work. It opened my mind to, wow, I didn't even know I could make calls to people. I didn't even know I could cold call people and offer them training sessions. Until I started trying to find people to offer training sessions. I didn't know I could send out emails and flyers. I didn't know I could go into the church and tell them that, make it a part of the sermon. I didn't know because I had never done it before, but now you do. That's how we go from being stuck to being still, because we start to work on ourselves and we start to get more knowledge and we start to be able to apply it to who we are. And then that applies value to the rest of the world. It is not about making money. It is about growing ourselves. So once we do repetition and patience, we then go to consistency. And that's the point when you say, okay, I got a plan. I know what I want to do. I know how I want to do it. This is the path that I'm going to have to go on to grow it. This is the trajectory that I want to be on. And so there are certain things that I'm going to need to do. I'm going to need to talk to 15 people a day in the gym. I'm going to need to approach 15 people a day in the gym and talk to them, start conversations with them. I heard a guy yesterday who had this great thing, and I didn't do this when I was in, I didn't do this before in sales, but it's a great way to get to do it. And he explained he doesn't ask questions, he makes statements, and he correlates it to something. So if you're in the gym, man, I just read an article, you see somebody's doing leg extensions. Man, I just heard an article that leg extensions, if inappropriately weighted, can tear up the knees. And then you just wait for them to respond. You did where? I think it was, I believe I read it in Men's Health. And they're like, oh man, Men's Health, I read Men's Health all the time, right? Oh, what are your thoughts? Man, yeah, you know, your knees are important, so blah, 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 blah. There they go, they're spilling it. Right? You start to notice, you start to mention things, and you let them open up. Boom, I know from my training program, one of the things I like to do is make sure I understand the different ways the knees need to be stretched. I saw you doing your workout. Are you following this program? This looks very similar to a program that John whoever does. Just mention somebody, Mark Hall, whoever. Oh no, this is something that I've been doing since high school, blah, 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 blah. Right? So now you start to develop consistency and say, I need to hit a target. Now we start to do things that move us from being stuck to being still, because there's growth in stillness. That's in the patience. Now we hit consistency. And the final thing is persevering. That perseverance is the thing that builds you. When they come to you and says, hey man, I heard you've been talking to my clients about fitness. You can't do that here, right? Perseverance is that thing that builds you. When you go to somewhere and they say, yeah, it's cost $350 to get a training certificate. And you're like, dude, I ain't made no money yet. I need to come up with this $350, right? Same thing for the kid who went to college and can't find a job. But that's the difference between working on you and working on the job. I gotta pay this $350. I gotta pay this $650. I'm gonna get this certificate. My money's gonna come back. This is an investment in me and in my future. This is an investment in what I do, how I talk to people, how I engage, my growth. I'm in better physical condition just from the things I learned about how I need to work out better. So, relevance of all of this is applying discipline to anything allows us from going from stuck to still. And still is growth. As always, guys, I want to thank everyone who came in today for being here. I really appreciate you guys taking the time to stop in. If you haven't done so yet, please drop a thumbs up, like, subscribe, share. Remember, what we are here for in BNV Finance Fixers is to motivate. We motivate through knowledge, self-awareness, and self-accountability. And we apply all of those skills with discipline. And when you work with discipline towards mastering any goal, you're guaranteed to see success. I want to thank you guys for taking the time to stop in and spend it with me this Saturday morning. It is now 12:15. It's time for me to get off of here. I appreciate you stopping in. I appreciate you enjoying it. Down below, you can see pinned in the chat, if you'd like to support the channel, you can click the link and directly support the channel. Also, as you can see, the merch is now available in the description on the main page. You can visit, you can tap there, you can get the merch. We'll send it directly to, we'll get it shipped directly to you. And we have a lot of products to look at. So please spend some time there as well. And as always, guys, in heading out today, I want to let you know, as I always share with everyone, keep showing up, keep blowing up, keep growing up. Until next time, guys, God bless. You guys take care. Have a great rest of your weekend.